Still go with Apollo 11. 30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Okay, we got a roll program.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11.
This is the Apollo 11 launch on July 16th, 1969. Also the theme for the spring 2019 ME2110 competition at Georgia Tech.
The primary tasks for this competition is to remove the rocks surrounding the lunar module landing zone while avoiding the lunar module, to deploy sensor decoys into opposing team zones, to place a flag on top of the lunar ridge, and to egress from the lunar ridge. Inherent design challenges include beginning within the constrained volume, expanding beyond the initial volume to address target areas, remaining under the $100 bill of materials, completing the system by the final competition date, completing the tasks within the allotted 40 seconds, and competing with other systems with regards to the flags and the sensor decoys.
As a team, we decided to prioritize the different point-earning tasks. We prioritized launch system as number 1, because without it, we would be disqualified. We prioritized clearing rocks and avoiding lunar module as priority number 2, because both of those tasks were completely under our control and did not depend on other teams' interference. Egressing from the lunar ridge after placing the flag, both prioritized number 3, because they are high point potential tasks. Deploying decoys came in 4th, and removing decoys came in 5th. We decided not even to address removing the decoys, as this had a high disqualification potential because we would be interfering with the lunar ridge.
After determining these challenges, we developed a house of quality and specification sheet to determine both the most important customer needs and engineering specifications. The most valuable customer needs were revealed to be that it clears the initial volume constraint, clears the lunar rocks while avoiding the module, and that it is both consistent and reliable. The correlating engineering specifications are the number of rocks cleared, flag placement position, and number of components or complexity. A function tree was created for the purposes of concept generation later on. This divided the competition into 3 subcategories: initiate systems, translate components, and utilize competition materials. Initiating the system involves both triggering and activating mechanisms, primarily involving power from the MyRio. Translating components derived from motion, separated into both extending and retracting the system, then navigating competition regions. Lastly, utilize competition materials has 2 subfunctions: hold materials and move materials. Moving involves displacing of lunar rocks and releasing of the flag and sensor decoys. Using this function tree, various solutions were imagined for each subfunction. Many were used in both design concepts and in our final competition design, including all the mechanisms, drawer sides, append-to-hold materials, and a folding arm, among others.
From the morphological chart, 3 concepts were generated using the subsystems that best fit together. Oftentimes, the morphological chart had the same subsystem for multiple subfunctions, and that was realized and used across each concept. Our first alternative hits the adjacent rocks using projectiles and extends to the lunar ridge through the use of 2 sets of scissor arms, one for the flag and one for the funnel with the sensor decoys. The second alternative uses wheels to reach the lunar ridge, and in the process, pushes the 2 adjacent rocks out of the way and has a net for the sensor decoys. The third alternative, and in the end, final design version 1, has a solenoid connected to a string that, when initiated, releases the system to extend on the drawer sliders with gravity. Connected to the platform is 2 stanchions on casters that hit the 2 rocks that are on the side. As the platform is sliding down, a sweeping arm swings out and hits the front rock out of the way. Once the drawer sliders are completely extended, there is a motor and string system that extends an arm on top of the lunar ridge, places the flag, and pulls the arm back to the platform. Also on the platform is a box with the sensor decoys inside. There's a solenoid holding the door up, and upon initiating, releases the sensor decoys into the zone. The solenoid is on a timer adjusted by a push button. allowing for the user to choose the timing of the release of the sensor decoys, depending on the starting position of the user's own zone relative to the machine's position. This foregoes the need of a subsystem to sense the location of the opponent's zone, which would add unneeded complexity. At the back of the robot, there is another motor connected to a string that acts as a winch to pull the system back for complete aggression. The concepts that were generated were then placed into an evaluation matrix to see which design would be chosen as the final design. The designs were measured based on certain customer requirements and how well the concept accomplished or met those requirements. In the end, the final design chosen won by a substantial margin, primarily because the final design scored very well in the highest weighted categories: reliability, points acquired, and no disqualification. During the preliminary competition in studio, the final design version 1 averaged less than 100 points per run out of the maximum 200, and therefore placed last out of the 5 robots.
What is it doing? Dude, Jake, it's going the wrong direction or something. I think...
Houston, we have a problem.
Because final design version 1 was so unreliable, the primary focus was to update to version 2 by removing the unreliable parts and failure points and replace them with much more reliable subsystems. A linear actuator was used to punch out the sweeping arm before the rest of the system launches. Sometimes the robot did not reach full extension due to gravity loan in version 1, so a linear actuator was placed next to a block on the platform so the actuator could punch the system out. The stanchions and casters sometimes got stuck on the rocks as the drawer slides extended, and therefore it didn't push them out entirely. So they were replaced by a slapper that could hit both rocks back towards the base in open space. Both motor and string systems needed to be improved or just replaced entirely. The motor and string system for the flag was improved by removing the string, adding a motor mount to the end of the motor, and connecting the arm for the flag directly to that motor mount. The second motor, that was originally used for aggression, was removed entirely, as the linear actuator could pull the system back enough for successful aggression.
After the updates, initial testing of version 2 of the design was off to a rough start. Oh my... Alright.
Houston, we have a problem.
After some tweaks and fixes, we began to see the promise of our updated design. Heck yes.
Come on, block him! Block him!
Hey! Alright, we'll take that.
Say again, please?
Houston, we have a
Solution. The machine wasn't perfect, but it was functioning well. In the 3 trials for the qualifying competition in our section, it placed first 2 out of those 3 times. This allowed our machine to be the 7th seed out of 48 teams going into the final competition. After the qualifying competition, the machine was largely ready for the final competition, with just a few updates to the code and small fixes.
2, 1, go! Here come the robots to the center. Yellow hits it so hard it knocks it into round 3, into zone 3. Here comes white to the center. They hold it on in zone 2.
In the first and second round of the competition, our machine did very well, and we placed first in both rounds, allowing us to move on. In the third round, we had some malfunctions, and the flag was not released on the lunar ridge, and not all the rocks were cleared. So we only scored 84 points, but still got the second place position to move forward. In the fourth round, we had a very competitive 156 points, securing a first place position and allowing us to move to round 5, where we scraped by with 146 points, only 4 points above the third and fourth position. Shout out to 24 Karat Black for removing all of our decoys. In the sixth and final round, we were able to score 146 points, still 40 points shy of the number 1 position, but still securing us a second place spot overall in the 2110 competition. Throughout 2110, we learned how to employ industry-standard engineering and design processes to systematically solve problems, a skill set transferable across many industries and professions. We also learned that many unforeseen problems and obstacles appear when taking ideas from design to reality, and we learned how to take feedback and iteratively update our designs accordingly. Furthermore, we learned how to communicate effectively in using reports and professional documentation. We also got great hands-on prototyping experience, learned lessons from working as a team, and overall had a productive and enjoyable time in 2110. Special thanks to Section F for making this such an awesome experience, and quick tip to anyone taking 2110 in the future: wash your drawer sliders in the bathtub, take the grease off, it'll make them slide faster. We are Team Houston. We have a solution. And thanks so much for watching.